Effort's been good. Effort's been really good. I think our enthusiasm, our spirit, our work has been really good. We just need to finish up the week and have a great Saturday.
As practices go later in the year, do you taper off? We've talked about that in the past. How much do you taper off on a Thursday?
A Thursday we don't taper at all, just because it's a full speed mental type of thing. There's almost virtually zero physical exertion to it, and so that's where we if anything we do more of that this time of year rather than full speed hitting this late in the week, or something of that nature. Anything that we can do at a walkthrough pace or a tempo pace or a meeting pace, that's not something that we taper too much. It's more the physical stuff.
How dangerous does it seem like Arizona coming off a tough loss? Tough place to play?
Well, they're a really good team. I think it's just another place in our conference. It's a tough place to play. They've got a ton of talent. They've got one of the best tailbacks in the country, a quarterback that's playing with more confidence, and yeah, they'll be hungry to bounce back after last week, especially the nature of the game. There was a bunch of kind of unforced errors to that game that they'll look at that and go, hey, we can catch a snap or something that was a huge turning point in the game, and they'll be fired up to play our guys.
Is this going to be an emotional weekend for you as your dad?
Definitely, yeah. Every part of it to a certain degree that'll be on my mind, but at the same time, be focused on the game as well. But yeah, there'll be a couple moments where that'll enter into my mind for sure.
I talked to a lot of the 1963 guys a few weeks ago, and they said it's really cool to them that your dad's on their freshman team, and they have that bond, even though some of them don't know you. Just what do you think your dad would think about you being the head coach of Oregon?
Well, he'd think it was pretty cool. He'd be embarrassed by this place and that kind of stuff, and he'd be correcting what I've done wrong. But yeah, he'd be tremendously proud. And those guys are a great group of guys that I've gotten to know over the years. Yeah.
Mark, as you get to this point of the season, with the spread offenses now, do you have enough time in a week to prepare for everything, or do you just try to pick what you think is going to be the biggest?
A little bit of both. I think you're always going to scheme the strengths of kind of your personnel and your base defense or your base offense to the opponent's perceived weaknesses or perceived percentages, and then to a certain extent, whether it's limiting, hitting, tackling, live tackling like we're talking about, you've got to rely on your guys to, what's the best way to get them fast and fresh and confident, and that's where, you try to meet all those things somewhere in the middle that you think is the best.
Mark, I've heard you mention a couple times certain stats that have a strong correlation to winning and others that don't. What are a couple that you guys feel like are really strongly correlated to winning?
Well, turnovers, points off turnovers, sacks, are two of the biggest, and then getting off to a fast start, getting off to a great start are things that are in the 90+% range of winning, and the ball is the most important thing of all, and in terms of finishing drives, we want to finish with touchdowns, and playing 4 quarters. That's a stat everybody wants to talk about. Well, you were bad at this quarter or this half or whatever, but at the end of the day, we need to have more points than the other team.
Do you have somebody who runs those numbers and studies the percentages and stuff? Somebody on the staff? We all
do, yeah. I mean, it's kind of there's kind of different categories offensively and defensively, and then in special teams, obviously, there's different things. I think if you block a punt, it's like a 90-some% chance of winning that game. But then we beat, who was it, UCLA, when they blocked the punt? Was UCLA? Yeah. UCLA. Yeah. And so there's always those kind of things that are, you can make anything out of stats to a certain degree.
We have those suggestions, that play chart that says when it's this down and distance, go for it instead of kicking. Do you ever override those on a feeling, or do you pretty much always stick to what that says?
Say that again. I'm sorry.
The plaque that you have that tell you kind of when it's 4th and 2 at this spot, maybe go for it. This instance, kick it. Do you ever override those?
Yeah, I think that's something that there's not really a template for that necessarily, because that's going to take into account just confidence in everything. Your defense, your kicking game, the 4th down play that you may have called, certainly momentum or something like you're saying that you're trying to either seize or stop. but definitely, and that's the the reason why there's always a lot of scrutiny on whether it's a fake in a special team situation or going for it on fourth down or stopping them on fourth down. Those are big plays to point to.
Is there a different message when you guys travel as far as going on the road? I know it's just to stay focused and win the day, but do you have a different message for the guys when you travel?
We really don't. We don't. Really, I mean, literally nothing is different in terms of how we approach anything. From our meetings, the timing of things, and the only thing that we do is when you're preparing for crowd noise on the road, you have to do it when your offense is kind of emphasized in practice, whereas at home you've got to have crowd noise when your defense is emphasized, and that's really it. Arizona Stadium has been we've had some great games there the last few times I've been down there, and the student section is great. Very vocal group, creative group, and we expect them to be, they'll be fired up. It's our last game at home, and that's even more so. We just got to handle our business.